Hey, what's up, fellas? Today we're going to be talking about keys and scales and how I like to use them. I'm also going to let you in on a little trick I like to use to be able to identify what's in any given key without really knowing what's in that given key. So without further ado, we'll dive right in. So before we get too deep, I want to lay down a definition or an idea for what a scale really is. So a scale is going to be a group of notes pulled from the 12 notes in an octave. If you sit down on a piano keyboard, for example, and you start on C and you work your way all the way back up to C and you play every note, there's going to be 12 notes before you arrive at that C in the octave above it. A scale doesn't necessarily need to play all of those notes, but it can. A lot of scales will play like 7, like the heptatonic scale plays 7, or the pentatonic scale will only play 5 before you have to repeat the scale again. So I'm going to talk in terms of the key of C today because I think it's a little easier to understand for newcomers. So key of C, or sorry, C major scale. Right? Got 7 notes before you arrive at C again, right? Now, if you don't really know what's in the key of C, a way you can identify that is by looking at its intervals. So the key of C is going to have an interval pattern of 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1 before you start to arrive back at C again, right? So starting on C here, count up 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, and you're back on C again, right? So let's talk about the minor side of this now that we got the major side cleaned up. So I'm going to start on A, and I'll explain why here in a second. The minor shape is going to look a little like this. Right? And your interval pattern it's the same pattern, it's just that it starts in a different spot in the pattern, right? So you got 2, 1, 2, whoopsie daisy, I broke it. You got 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. And you're back on A, right? Now, if you're listening close enough, you might have caught on to the fact that these have the same notes in them. C major and A minor have the same notes in them, and there's a reason for that. The reason is because for every major key, there's going to be a minor key with the exact same notes, and that is exactly what's going on right here. We call this a relativity. Like, let's take another key, for example. Let's use A. A is kind of a cool one. So, A. If you put the A major scale on ledger lines and you count all the way up to the 6th note, you're going to get F sharp minor. And those two are relative with each other. If you put C, the C major scale, on ledger lines and you count up 6 notes, you're going to get A minor, which means that C and A minor are relatives to each other. Alright, so now that we got scales and keys somewhat identified, let's talk about chords. What kind of chords can you play? So much like there is a pattern with intervals at any given location, chords are the same way. There is going to be a pattern between minor and major and what's diminished, right? So for example, if you're playing along, you're like, I got key of C, right? Got your C chord. And you move on to your G. Move on to your A minor. And then you go into E. It doesn't quite sound right, you know? And it's not supposed to, because it doesn't really follow that pattern, right? So the pattern will go something like this. You got a C, you got a D minor, you got an E minor, you got an F major, G major, A minor, and this is a weird one. This is B diminished. That 7th chord is always going to be diminished. And then you're back to C again. So your pattern is going to go major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and then you're back home again, right? That clears up about everything I've got to say in terms of keys, chords, notes, scales that I can think of right now. I hope this cleared up any confusion with you, and if you have any suggestions for me, as I am a new YouTuber, please just drop it down in the comment section, and I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, without further ado, have fun, keep on rocking, and I'll see you next time.